Welcome back. This is OPIN003, and I'm here with Tony Ramey, the latest affiliate to Newport Lodge number 706. Please introduce yourself, Tony.
Hello, I'm Tony Allen Ramey. I live in Newport, North Carolina.
And you've got a different history of, you know, your Masonic journey. You've been in several different states, and
Yeah.
they do. Well, how did your Masonic journey first start? How did you first get interested?
Well, I grew up in Corbin, Kentucky, and when I was thinking the 7th or 8th grade, I can't remember which one it was, the de Molay had started in the lodge there, and my parents were divorced and my dad was not around, but some of my friends, they were in the lodge, their dads were in the lodge, and so a good friend of mine and we joined up, and so I learned a lot about Masonic stuff. And my grandfather was 33rd degree. He lived in various parts of eastern Kentucky, and so after that I joined the Navy at a young age when I was 17, and eventually in 1984 I got stationed in Meridian, Mississippi. I was in the Navy, and there was this guy I worked with, another sailor, and he had a Masonic ring on, and I asked him one day, can I join? I'd like to know how, and he was more than happy. So I went, the lodge I first belonged to in Meridian, Mississippi is called Andrew Chapel. I think it's number 377, I believe, and it was in the rural part of Meridian, actually out in Lauderdale County, Mississippi. And from there, I think it was 1984, May or something like that. But 1986, I became a Master Mason. It took me a while because I had things going on, and so before I transferred and all that, I became a Master Mason. And that lodge eventually closed because the building was falling apart and it had low membership, and they merged with another lodge, but I found out the other day it's still called Andrew Chapel Lodge. So from there, I transferred to Norfolk, Virginia, and I visited some lodges in Virginia there. Also, when I was going to this school in Fort McClellan, Alabama, I went to a lodge there. And so I've been to Mississippi, Alabama, and then Virginia, but I was just visiting. And then, but I finally demitted from Meridian, Andrew Chapel, and to my hometown of Kentucky at Hugh Harris Lodge. So I've been a member there since probably, I think about 1989 or 1990, I can't remember. But I've been in Masonry a long time, you know, from de Molay up to now. So, and then I moved here about 7.5 years ago, and then I drug my feet, and finally I've been meaning to come to Newport Lodge, and I'm glad I did. So now I'm a full-fledged card-carrying member, and that's basically how that happened.
Okay, what is the de Molay? De Molay.
De Molay is based upon this fellow from the Knights Templar, Jacques de Molay. He was burned at the stake by one of the Catholic popes, I can't remember which one it was, for supposedly heresy. And he would not give up the secrets of the Knights Templar's treasure or anything like that. And so I guess when Boy Scouts were founded, because I was a Boy Scout too, back in the 1900s or whenever de Molay, I can't remember exactly what year it was formed, but I guess they wanted to create a Masonic youth organization. And what better way than, you know, the Knights Templar, which was kind of exciting, and you know, and so de Molay it develops, supposed to develop young men's characters, which it did mine, and we had our rituals and other things too, and but I found out after I retired from the Navy that the de Molay where I grew up at, it had bumped by the wayside. But there's still a movement, though, in the United States.
Yeah, a lot of them have. Newport used to have the de Molay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ray spoke of that, but so it was named after
Jacques de Molay,
a French
right? French Knights Templar.
Knights Templar who was tortured and killed by
Catholic Pope.
A Catholic Pope.
It was.
Which, yeah, that
he disbanded the Knights Templar.
Yeah, that was 13.
I don't know what year it was.
1307.
It was a long time ago.
It was actually the first Friday the 13th.
Oh,
that's when they.
Is that when it was?
Yeah.
So you know more about it than I do.
Well, a Knights Templar. Yeah. I've studied.
Well,
I got
I'm going to be that.
I've gotten that. So when you're ready, actually the festival for Knights Templar is coming up. It'll be the fall festival.
Well, don't I have to go through the York Rite though to become one?
Yeah, that's north. Yeah, it all happens in one day though.
Okay.
On a Saturday they have a festival, and they go through all the degrees, and it's a long day.
Yeah.
It's a long day. And you mentioned your grandfather was bestowed the 33rd degree.
Scottish Rite.
And when did you know about this?
When I was in de Molay.
Okay.
Actually, he died in like 1977, I believe. That's when I joined the Navy that year. But it was like 1975 or 74, I think, maybe 73. I can't remember exactly when. But it was sometime around and then, because actually my mother told me that he was in the Masonic Lodge after I joined de Molay. But I didn't see him very much, and because he lived, a couple hundred miles away, and back then the roads wasn't that good like they are now. It's only like an hour and a half now from where I lived to where he lived. But and when he found out that, kind of strange, he was in the hospital. He had a heart attack, and he had found out that I was in de Molay. My mother told him, but he passed away a couple of days later, and he told her that he was proud of me and hope I, went on to become a Mason, and all that. So, and that's one of my intentions, because I wanted to have that at least, part of the family. So
now you're getting back into Masonry. What do you feel keeps you going? What is inspiring you to really continue with Masonry?
Well, it's something that, like with martial arts, I've been doing that for 50 years. And it's just something that, it's a never-ending process, actually. There's no end in sight. That's what I like about it, because, you go to college and get your degree, that's over with. I mean, you can always still learn and all that, but with becoming, the camaraderie, the friendship, meeting new brothers and helping others that you can, and I think that's gives you something to do, especially when you're retired like me. I've been retired a long time, and I just got tired of just sitting around doing nothing. And
it's important to be connected.
Yeah, it is, and I feel connected, and you guys made me feel really at home when I first came here, and honestly, back in like 1972 or 73, whatever, a few years, I used to visit my aunt and uncle, and they lived in downtown Newport, over by the railroad tracks. He was retired master gunnery sergeant, and worked at the post office. And my aunt fixed hair there, but I used to, go ride around my bike and in town and drive his truck, and I would see that big white building and like, what is that? And then I saw, the Masonic thing on it. I thought, oh, okay. And so when I moved back here in 2015, I was driving around one day and just there it was. I said, oh, okay. So actually, it was my wife that encouraged me to, to come.
Get out of the house.
Something
Go do
to
something.
do. Yeah,
Go do something.
You need to do something, because she still works. I said, okay, I'm going to do it, and I did. So here I am, and I'm glad I did.
Good. So how about the martial arts? Tell me your background there?
Okay, I started taking judo in the early 70s in Kentucky. My judo instructor was a doctor, and he was Catholic. He had about 10 children. And he taught judo in the basement of the, I'm not Catholic, but in the Catholic church. And we had a pretty good following there, because I got excited about watching Bruce Lee and Billy Jack on TV, on the movie screen and all that stuff. And
Legend of Billy Jack.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, and so that's what I wanted to do. So my judo teacher, he was a really good man. He only had one lung, and he would get, every year he would get, when it turned cold, some kind of infection there. And I found out later on in life that he had actually been in Japan a few years after they dropped the atom bomb, and he was doing he was in the Navy as a doctor, and he was doing some studies there on the effects of the radiation. And he died of pancreatic cancer back in the 1997 or 98. And he always said that judo would kill him, because he was studying judo in Tokyo at this place called the Kodokan, which is a big judo mecca. And I guess it did, because he was in Japan a lot. So really strange. Really strange.
Exposed to radiation?
Yep.
Wow.
So they had, back then they had primitive equipment, compared to what they got now. You remember in the military, we got those mop suits and all that stuff.
Yeah. And the badges.
Yeah, the badges and all that. And so
where are you at now with your jiu-jitsu?
Well, I teach. I don't do judo anymore because it's just, I got some injuries in my back that can't not be repaired. I've had 3 surgeons tell me there's nothing they can do for me, so I got to deal with that. But I teach a martial art called Hapkido, which is a Hapkido. Yeah, it's the same martial art that Billy Jack did in the movies, and I got involved with that. It's a Korean martial art. I was stationed in Japan, and one of the guys that worked with me on security was a Hapkido guy, and I was doing karate over there also. I'd studied that, so I started training with him. And we would go back and forth to Korea on these Gidunk flights. They had a P-3 squadron there, the anti-submarine stuff that they did. And every so often, the P-3s would fly training flights to Korea from Japan. So we went over there a couple times to his school and all that. And that's how I got involved with it. And I made black belt in Hapkido, I think 1983, I believe it was, maybe. And I know I made black belt in judo in 1979. So it was a martial art. Judo and Hapkido have a lot of aspects that are similar. So I picked it up pretty quickly. And then this past October, I was surprised. I got promoted to 9th degree black belt, which is the highest rank you can achieve. And I'm going to be 63 in November, so that's that with that,
Well, you're looking to, not like open up a studio, but start teaching some classes.
Yeah, so I thought about, I was we were at the lodge a few weeks ago, and I was like, well, shoot, this would be a great place. And it dawned on me, because I was teaching at Fort Benjamin here in Newport, but after the hurricane washed everything away and trying to put this house back together, I just didn't have time for it. Well, now I do. And so I thought, what better way? And want to get some members, people may be interested in it, without going recruiting. But, just maybe get some people that be interested, including the Lodge brothers. And I'm putting the bill, buying the mat. As a matter of fact, I just spent almost $900 on mats. I ordered
them. You got the mat, all right.
Okay, so they'll be here probably in about 3 weeks, because they're made to order. And going to go from there, and the last time we met, the lodge, was a unanimous vote to let me do it, and I'm very excited about it, because I want to get out and do something, gain weight and just sit around, and it's just hard sometimes, especially, I'm sure you got injuries as well. It just, my back, it just drives me nuts sometimes. Sometimes I got to take pain medicine just to lay down. I just can't move. But, and I've also been diagnosed with very, very early signs of dementia. So I thought, I got to do something.
Well, Masonry's good for that.
Yes, that's one reason why I want to start learning the degrees again. You know, the night we were doing the EA and with the book and all that, a lot of stuff was coming back to me. I mean, I was reading it, you know, and yeah, I knew it. But it's been a long time. And there's some differences, you know, from what I learned.
Yeah.
Not much, just very little. So I thought, well, you know, I get out of the house and all that. My granddaughter, she's having a baby soon, and she lives in Denver. And actually in March. So I'm going to try to go out there this spring to see the baby, because I did raise my granddaughter for about 3 years. She lived with me, and she's doing very well.
Okay, you said your daughter's having a baby.
Granddaughter.
Your granddaughter.
Granddaughter.
So you're going to be a great
grandfather.
Great
grandfather.
But
a great grandfather. Yeah.
A great grandfather. Yeah, I just made grandfather. I have a 1-year-old, but we kind of adopted the niece's 2 babies. She married the Marine Corps, and she's got 2 little ones, but we're not sure where she's going to get stationed with her Marine Corps husband. But it's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
We get to see him. Actually, we've got them coming over to spend the night. 2 babies.
Oh, Lord.
Can you imagine?
Are they twins or something?
No. They're about a year apart.
Oh, I see.
Hopefully they do something to prevent the, the 3rd and 4th.
Well, my granddaughter, I had to retire from the police department, because when I got out of the Navy, I became a police officer.
Okay.
I was that for like 8 years, and I got hit by a car directing traffic at a wreck.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's really weird the way the streets were lined up, but you can imagine, just like Howard Boulevard, for example, there in front of the post office, going straight up and down like that. And we were this car had hit another car at an intersection, and we were trying to get the traffic rerouted. So there was a lady, I don't know if you remember the old Lincoln Continental car, the big battle stars, you know?
Yeah.
Well, this woman, she's probably 85 years old. She was like within 5-6 feet of my brand new police car, because we were able to take our cars home, and it was like my baby. It had like maybe 2,000 miles on it. Well, anyways, I'm trying to get her. I said, you know, just put it in reverse and just slowly back up. Well, she throws it in reverse, and for some reason hit the gas and turned the wheel in the car, and I'm like standing here, and her car this way, and when she did, it just kind of hit, and I was like this, and I went flying.
Like a whale.
Yeah, and I came within inches, I mean literally inches, of being crushed.
Between them. Wow.
And by the grace of God, you know, I wasn't.
Grace of
And
God.
I never fired my gun at anyone. I came close several times. And on a Glock.
How's that? Did you draw?
Oh, yeah. You know, you see on TV, these cops will put their hand on their gun, you know. No, that's not true.
You draw, beat down.
Yes, when you have a felony in progress, like somebody breaking into a house or stealing cars or somebody like that, yeah, because you don't know what the threat is. So you have to, you know, you have to be force to force. And you always have to have that one step above the force. You know, you don't go to a knife fight with another knife. If you're a cop, you know, or anybody who's got any common sense, you know, you're going to take a gun. So just finger off the trigger, though. No.
Finger on the trigger?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's a Glock?
Yes. The stuff you see on TV is, you know, that is true to a certain, with a finger on the top of the slide, you know, like that.
Yeah. Or, you know, trigger guard, yeah.
Right, or around the trigger guard, exactly. But it's, you know, you got somebody that's standing there, you know, I want to kill you or whatever. Because one night I stopped this guy, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. This old pickup truck, he was all over the road. And he was taller than you. He got out of the truck, and I said, "Oh my God, this guy's a mountain. Looks like King Kong." And I'm only 5'10". And martial arts, you know, be damned, because I'm like, "Oh my God." Well, he was high on methamphetamine.
Mm.
Luckily, I was able to talk him into complying. But somebody like that feels no pain, you know, I feel for those guys in England, you know, and other countries that don't carry guns as a matter of routine, because somebody can beat the hell out of you. And all they've got now, actually now they've got tasers.
Yeah.
Because I went to a baton class, PR-24 class in London, Ohio, and we had guys from England, because it was a week-long, on this baton instruction.
You could just say London and it'd be like,
London
wow.
to London. Basically what it was. And they adopted the PR-24 baton. And I was...
Okay, now, is that special PR-24?
Yeah, PR-24. Have you seen one before?
Is it like the Tonfa?
Tonfa, yeah.
Tonfa.
Yeah. Yeah, similar to that. But the guy that invented Lon Anderson said he didn't create it after the Tonfa, which is, I don't think was true. He spent time in Okinawa in the Marine Corps. And any of those karate schools you go over there, you're going to see the Tonfa, you know, the side handle and all that. But anyways, I learned that, you know, when you got people that are going to a domestic call, you got the man and woman fighting.
Don't cover your mic.
Oh, yeah. You got the man and woman fighting, or two men or whatever. I went to a domestic call one time, these two guys.
It's the worst.
Beating the hell out of each other. And I said, "What happened?" "Well, that bitch just slapped me." I'm like, "Why?" "That bitch over there." He's talking about the other guy. So I'm like, I don't know if you want to put this in the recording or not. But,
well, I think it's YouTube. You see.
But I'm like, okay. I ain't got I don't care what they do, you know, it's their own business. It's just that, and now, back in, I think in the 90s, that there was a federal law that if there's signs of violence on anyone during a domestic call or damage to property, the perpetrator automatically goes to jail. Because they did that to reduce the amount of injuries and homicides at a domestic, and it worked. It works. And
so you would look for signs of violence. So if there was any
battle marks on the person, yeah,
or the
and
property.
I've arrested women for beating up their husbands or boyfriends.
Yeah.
And I wasn't proud of it, but you know, it's just something that had to be done. But that's probably traffic stops and this. One time I pulled over this woman. It was the license plate had been expired, for over almost 2 years. And I know this lady's got problems, and I walked up to her, and I had this sixth sense something was wrong. So I step up there to the car, you know, cautiously, as we were trained to do, like you see those guys on TV. Almost identical. They get the training from the real police. So she's telling me that she's got this and that, and so I get her driver's license, and I said, "Run your driver's license." So I go back to the car and write out the citation and everything, and I go back up, and I look in the car, and she's got a pistol in her lap.
Oh, my.
Yeah, and with her hand like this.
Oh, no.
And she says, and I immediately pull my gun out. She pulls it up. She didn't actually point it at me. "I wanted to show you my gun." And I reached in and grabbed it, you know, and stuck the gun to the back of her head. Because I didn't know what this woman was going to do, and I was going home that night. So she was just really out there, and that gun came up to be stolen. I had the serial number, I ran it, and I took her. She went to jail. I had no choice.
Yeah.
And but she about 5 years later, I saw her, and she'd pulled herself together. And there was one thing that really haunts me. I was working like the first time I'd ever seen real death from a traffic fatality was on the interstate. I don't know if you've been through Kentucky or not, but the Interstate 75 goes right up the middle from Florida to Michigan. And where I lived at, we had about 4 miles of interstate went through city limits. And the state police, they couldn't cover everything, so we had to fill in sometimes. And so we went to a wreck, and actually, it was the first wreck I'd ever worked. So I hadn't been on the department very long. I was actually still riding in the car with my training officer. And I pulled up, and there was a van that had crossed a median and hit another car head on. And in the car that got hit, there was a man and a woman in the front. They were dead. There was 2 dead children in the back seat.
Oh.
And it was pretty bad. I mean, pretty gruesome. And it still haunts me sometimes. And I've seen a woman had stepped out in front of an 18-wheeler on the interstate and it killed her flat. She committed suicide.
That was suicide.
But, you know, I just saw stuff like that. And plus being in the military, you know, you got PTSD, that stuff happens. And, you know, but thankfully, you know, I didn't shoot anybody. And I'm glad of it.
Well, the worst stuff with I don't know, maybe just for me, but it's like the civilians when they get hurt, killed, or whatever. And then they blame me for it. That's the thing. That's the worst. The reason is, for me,
the lawsuits are I got sued twice, and I won both times. It was these ambulance chasing lawyers, and actually, both lawsuits. I was not directly sued. I was there when it happened, and but my name was mentioned on it. It's a federal thing, and it went away. But the city hires good lawyers and all that, and this woman tried to say that she had been in. You want to hear all this?
Sure.
Okay.
This is your
okay.
Your good. Your major events.
This is something that really another thing that bothers me is that I had to work at bailiff in a court. We had in the county I worked in. City, the county, we had a courtroom in the city hall. There was like a district part of where they had like misdemeanors and traffic and all that stuff. So the sheriff's department didn't have the personnel, so the city we would go work bailiff a couple of days a week for half a day or whatever. And we had to work juvenile court, which it was in a conference room, and there was a bunch of people out in the regular courtroom so I was over there going back and forth between just to make sure everybody's all right in the big courtroom. The court wasn't going on, but juvenile court was behind closed doors. So the judge was a really good man. He died of Hodgkin's disease, a really good man. But he was presiding over this woman who let these two children, a boy and a girl, he was like 14 or 13, and the girl was like 10. And the prosecutor, called the Commonwealth attorney, he was wanting the children removed from the home because social services had been sent to the house, and the little girl said the boy had been having sex with her. And the mother said in open court, in juvenile court, I don't see why it's such a big deal. They're just children.
Wow.
And, incest is illegal for obvious reasons.
Were they related?
Yes, they're brother and sister.
Wow.
So
15 and 10.
No, 14 and 12.
14 and 12.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Anyways, the judge said, I'm going to remove the children from the home.
And separate them.
And when he said that, the mother started screaming and raising all kinds of hell. And I was like standing by the door, listening to everything. She slung the door open and runs out into the other courtroom. It's like a waiting area at the time. And gets to her sister and told her what was going on. And her sister started raising holy hell. I mean, she was really going on and on. And I told her, I said, look, if you don't go outside and be quiet, I'm going to arrest you for disorderly conduct. And I'm trying to go back and forth to the juvenile court because the mother went back in there and was trying to assault the judge. So I hit the button on my radio and said, I need help now. And when you do that, people come out of the woodwork. You got cops, state police, or whatever coming. And there was like 3 or 4 other cops on duty, and they all came in there. And one of them got in there, and I said, that woman's under arrest for disorderly conduct. She will not shut up. And I said, arrest her now, because I was in charge that day, actually. And the guy did. She started fighting him. He had to put her on the ground, put cuffs on her and all that, took her next door to the police station where she was like fingerprinted and, you know, picture taken and all that. And while she was over there, she apologized to him.
Were the children even around at the time?
They were not. They couldn't see all this. They were in the other room. So other social workers came and they got the kids. And the mother, she was just beside herself. And another family member come and took her away. And so the woman that was arrested, her ex-boyfriend was in the courtroom, you know, the waiting for something. I don't know. Like I said, there wasn't court going on in the main courtroom at the time. They were just sitting there. So they took this girl to jail. We had to transport her to the county jail. And 6 to 8 months later, I get a certified letter in the mail. I'm being sued for the federal lawsuit for violating her civil rights and causing her injuries and all this. Well, come to find out, she said that we beat her up. She had to have her spleen removed and all this other stuff. So the city hired, the city's insurance company hired this big law firm out of Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville's a big city like Raleigh. And they started doing an investigation. Come to find out, the night she went to jail, she was on a top bunk, she fell out. And when she got home, come to find out, her boyfriend beat her up. So we were in court, federal court, and until you've been to federal court being sued, you ain't been nowhere. So yeah, I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. I knew that I was, they got a thing called qualified immunity, which means that, you know, you're acting under the color of law. They can't sue you personally, but you can be the defendant in court. So we're in court there, and the insurance company had hired the former coroner for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, who'd done over 8,000 to 10,000 autopsies in a 25-year period. So he testified that this woman, the injuries were not sustained by the police officers. And the jury was out 20 minutes, and they even ate lunch during that time and come back and said we were not liable. So this woman lost, and while the jury was deliberating, her attorneys went to our attorney and said, well, we'll settle for $700,000. And I said, absolutely not. And my attorney said, well, we're obligated to call the insurance company to see what they want to do, if they want to carry on, which they did. So they lost and everything. But we had to go to depositions. I was accused of wearing black Nazi boots, and I almost stood up and punched her lawyer. Oh, I had to get up, and it was just awful.
What, Nazi boots?
Yeah, he said, well, did you kick her with those Nazi jack boots that you wear? And I said some choice words to him, and I lunged across the table